I always try to tell a story in the cinematic way, through a succession of shots and bits of film in between. I know what it is to feel lonely and helpless and to have the whole world against me. The only way for me to get rid of my fears is to make films about them. A boy's best friend is his mother. Self-plagiarism is style. If I won't be myself, who will? Reality is something that none of us can stand at any time. The silent pictures were the purest form of cinema. Fear isn't so difficult to understand. After all, weren't we all frightened as children? We all go a little mad sometimes. I have a feeling that inside you somewhere, there's somebody nobody knows about. There is nothing to winning, really. That is if you happen to be blessed with a keen eye, an agile mind, and no scruples whatsoever. I don't want to appear disloyal to television, but I think reading will be good for you. The picture's over. Now I have to go and put it on film. Making a film means, first of all, to tell a story. That story can be an improbable one, but it should never be banal. It must be dramatic and human. In many of the films now being made, there is very little cinema. They are mostly what I call photographs of people talking. Never climb a fence if you can sit on it. Ideas come from everything. I'm a type director. If I made Cinderella, the audience would immediately be looking for a body in the coach. The more successful the villain, the more successful the picture. I'm a writer and therefore automatically a suspicious character. The paperback is very interesting, but I find it will never replace the hardcover book. It makes a very poor doorstop. There is nothing quite so good as Burial at Sea. It is simple, tidy, and not very incriminating. The length of a film should be directly related to the endurance of the human bladder. Puns are the highest form of literature. If it's a good movie, the sound could go off and the audience would still have a perfectly clear idea of what was going on. Really, the novelist has the best casting since he doesn't have to cope with the actors and all the rest. I believe in putting the horror in the minds of the audience and not necessarily on the screen. Always make the audience suffer as much as possible. I was an uncommonly unattractive young man. In feature films, the director is God. In documentary films, God is the director. What is drama, after all, but life with the dull bits cut out? A good film is when the price of the dinner, the theater admission, and the babysitter were worth it. To make a great film, you need three things: the script, and the script. I'm not against the police. I'm just afraid of them. I deny that I ever said actors are cattle. What I said was, actors should be treated like cattle. Revenge is sweet and not fattening. Deep inside, I am a shy man, and in the presence of colorful characters, I am a clam. I never try to out-eccentric the eccentrics. Kicking is very important in football. In fact, some of the more enthusiastic players even kick the ball occasionally. I'm frightened of eggs. Worse than frightened, they revolt me. People don't always express their inner thoughts to one another. A conversation may be quite trivial, but often the eyes will reveal what a person really thinks or feels. There is no terror in the bang, only in the anticipation of it. A glimpse into the world proves that horror is nothing other than reality. I can't read fiction without visualizing every scene. The result is it becomes a series of pictures rather than a book. There is something more important than logic: imagination. If it's a good movie, the sound could go off and the audience would still have a perfectly clear idea of what was going on. I've become a body of films. Not a man, I am all those films. I am to provide the public with beneficial shocks. If you can't do it naturally, then fake it. Never turn your back on a friend. Mystery is an intellectual process, but suspense is essentially an emotional process. Nothing has changed since Little Red Riding Hood faced the big bad wolf. What frightens us today is exactly the same sort of thing that frightened us yesterday. It's just a different wolf. I would almost say that the best screen actor is the man who can do nothing extremely well. I don't understand why we have to experiment with film. I think everything should be done on paper. Conversation is the enemy of good wine and food. Television is like the invention of indoor plumbing. It didn't change people's habits. It just kept them inside the house. Love those wrongdoers, they need it more than you. I have never known birds of different species to flock together. The very concept is unimaginable. Why, if that happened, we wouldn't stand a chance. Actually, I have no regard for money. Aside from its purchasing power, it's completely useless as far as I'm concerned. For me, suspense doesn't have any value if it's not balanced by humor. We seem to have a compulsion these days to bury time capsules in order to give those people living in the next century or so some idea of what we are like. The Birds could be the most terrifying motion picture I have ever made. I always take the audience into account. Luck is everything. My good luck in life was to be a really frightened person. I'm fortunate to be a coward, to have a low threshold of fear, because a hero couldn't make a good suspense film. I'm full of fears and I do my best to avoid difficulties and any kind of complications. I like everything around me to be clear as crystal and completely calm. Besides, I get into each picture I make, if only for a couple of seconds, so I'm probably a frustrated actor at heart myself. Content, I am not interested in that at all. I don't give a damn what the film is about. I am more interested in how to handle the material so as to create an emotion in the audience. I'm not much into rear window ethics. There is a distinct difference between suspense and surprise, and yet many pictures continually confuse the two. I am scared easily. Here is a list of my adrenaline production. 1. Small children. 2. Policemen. 3. High places. 4. That my next movie will not be as good as the last one. Let us say, rather, that actors are a necessary evil. As a matter of fact, I couldn't work if I weren't on friendly terms with them. I'll bend over backward every time. To me, Psycho was a big comedy. Had to be. When an actor comes to me and wants to discuss his character, I say, it's in the script. If he says, but what's my motivation? I say, your salary. I find too many people are interested in the content. If you were painting a still life of some apples on a plate, it's like you'd be worrying whether the apples were sweet or sour. Who cares? Give them pleasure, the same pleasure they have when they wake up from a nightmare. In the old days, villains had mustaches and kicked the dog. Audiences are smarter today. They don't want their villain to be thrown at them with green limelight on his face. The first of the 4 is a film editor, the second is a scriptwriter, the third is the mother of my daughter Pat, and the 4th is as fine a cook as ever performed miracles in a domestic kitchen. And their names are Alma Reville. Even my failures make money and become classics a year after I make them. It's only a movie, and after all, we're all grossly overpaid. When you can look forward, and the road is clear ahead, and now you are going to create something, that's as happy as I'd want to be.